violence, conflict, and other numerous challenges to detect, prevent, and respond effectively to infectious diseases, modern, biological, chemical, or radioactive disasters. This is a focus this afternoon on Panorama from the studios of NTA Maiduguri Network Center. My name is Abubakar Muhammad Musa. Now, with 30 completed water supply projects of over 1.7 million liters per day capacity, development of infrastructure in the water sector in Nigeria from 2016 till date has been described as a great revolution. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu says there are several other projects that are ongoing, and the federal government is partnering states and other stakeholders to meet the water needs of the nation. State House correspondent Jide Onifadi reports.
The policy of the Buhari administration since inception is focused on completion of uncompleted projects, some of which had been abandoned for decades. Going by the saying that water is life, the administration, through its Ministry of Water Resources, has touched almost all areas with a view to providing sustainable access to safe and sufficient water for social and economic development needs, as well as adequate sanitation by 2030.
So on the dams, there are over 200 dams in this country with a capacity of 11.2 billion cubic meters for irrigation, 900 million cubic meters for water supply, and 18 billion cubic meters for hydropower. Out of the 37 projects that we inherited, we have completed 12. And 20 more are prioritized for completion by 2023.
Minister Suleiman Adamu says much have been done in the development of infrastructure, and though the supply of potable water rests solely on states, the federal government is intervening through collaboration and partnership with states, the private sector, and non-governmental organizations towards ensuring Nigerians have access to potable water.
Well, what we've been doing since 2015, we're being guided by three pillars. The National Water Resources Master Plan that has been existing since 1995, but was never really implemented to the letter. And the Water Sector Roadmap that we developed in 2015, which was approved by Mr. President in June 2016. And of course, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We inherited about 116, 38 irrigation and drainage projects, 37 dam projects, and 41 water supply projects. So after we did a technical audit in 2016, we prioritized them into high, medium, and low. And that has been what has been driving us.
The weekly executive briefing of press is initiated by the presidential media team. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
To stop importation of petroleum products through the rehabilitation of refineries has again received a boost with the approval for the rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna refineries. Lydia Sampson has more details.
With work already ongoing at the Port Harcourt refinery, the largest refining company in the country, also confirmed by the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Chimipre Silva, that the first 15% of the contract sum has been paid to the contractor, and the contractor fully mobilized to site. The Kaduna refinery, completed and commissioned in 1980, like the Warri refinery, it was a modern conversion refinery with two parts, a 50,000 barrels per day plant and a 50,000 barrels per day lubes plant for production of lubricating oil blend stock, waxes and bitumen, while Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company, on the other hand, was the first Nigerian government wholly owned refinery commissioned in 1978. It was built to process 100,000 barrels of crude oil per day, but was later debottlenecked to process 125,000 barrels per day in 1987. Essentially built to add value to some of the refinery byproducts such as propylene-rich stock and decant oil. Ironically, the refineries has not been producing at optimal capacity. This has in no small measure continuously contributed to the importation of petroleum products. The approval by the Federal Executive Council of contracts for the rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna refineries at the combined sum of $1.484 billion and the completion of the rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna refineries will be in 3 phases.
897,678,800 US dollars for Warri refineries and 586,902,256 US dollars for Kaduna refineries.
The first phase is projected to be completed within 21 months. In 23 months, phase 2 will be completed, and in 33 months, the full rehabilitation will be completed. This is projected to play a critical role in changing the narrative of spending of huge foreign exchange on importation, as refining will be done in country. The Federal Executive Council also approved the acquisition of 20% minority stakes by the NNPC in Dangote Petroleum and Petrochemical Refinery to the sum of $2.76 billion. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
Professor Yemi Osinbajo says implementation of viable as well as durable mechanisms are essential ingredients in tackling present-day challenges, especially insecurity and the ravaging coronavirus pandemic. The Vice President stated this via Zoom while addressing the closing ceremony of 20th edition meeting of Joint Planning Board and National Council on Development Planning held in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Here are more details of the story. With the theme, Managing the Nigerian Economy for Sustainable Development in a Challenging Environment, the 20th edition of Joint Planning Board and National Council on Development Planning meeting, being held annually, is a brainchild of the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, in a remark via Zoom, said Nigeria's peculiar challenges are not insurmountable, taking into account the series of multi-stakeholder approach involved, and called for quick implementation of more robust policies as well as sustenance of practical strategies in charting the way forward. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, while describing the event as a veritable platform that will pave way for accelerated progress, especially in the ongoing recovery program of Borno State government, however, pinpointed some exigencies that for maximum benefit.
I see no reason why the federal government and state government are engaging in many projects, many more projects, while the ongoing projects are not completed.
Commenting on the program online, Minister of Finance Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed harped on the need to ensure enhanced management of economic stabilization processes and maximum utilization of programs geared towards putting Nigeria on the path of greatness. Other stakeholders described the 3-day event as informative that will take Borno and the country as a whole to a higher pedestal. The event also featured an in-depth presentation on major achievements recorded by the Zulum-led administration so far. Nursing mothers in Nigeria have been encouraged to take it with utmost importance, the exclusive breastfeeding, in order to provide the babies with essential nutrients they require for growth and development. This was the central message of the public awareness walk in commemoration of World Breastfeeding Week, put together by Aisha Buhari Foundation under the Future Assured program in collaboration with other development partners in Abuja. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir now reports.
This awareness work is part of the week-long activities organized by the Aisha Buhari Foundation and other development partners, including Federal Ministry of Health and Green Heroes Foundation, aimed to promote and support breastfeeding in Nigeria.
A well-breastfed child would have less instances of health challenges.
We are encouraging mothers to breastfeed their baby exclusively for the first 6 months of life, without water, without any other thing. But after 6 months, the mother is also advised to add complementary food, because at 6 months, the breast milk is no longer enough.
Heroes were in the barracks to create awareness of breastfeeding for all mothers, to know the importance of breastfeeding, because it's very important for every mother to breastfeed her child. Breastfeeding is more nutritious than giving in a milk.
This year's theme, Protect breastfeeding, a shared responsibility is a catalyst to encouraging breastfeeding, improve the health of babies, and adding value to the nation's growth and development. From the State House, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
You're on to Panorama on the largest television network, NTA. Let's take a break now, but we have more reports for you as soon as we return.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
We're glad to know that you're part of Panorama this afternoon. Let's talk security now. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has stressed the importance of cooperation and synergy among security agencies in the fight against all forms of insecurity in the country. Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya made the assertion while on operational tour of Nigerian Army formations and units in Katsina State. Dauda Muhammad has the rest of the story.
The visit of army formations and units in Katsina State, which fall under the command of 8th Division of the Nigerian Army, is part of operational tour of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, to assess operational readiness of the various formations as well as have first-hand interaction with the troops on ground. While at the Katsina State Government House, the Chief of Army Staff appreciated the state government for the support given to the Nigerian Army and assured that strategies on ground will be sustained to bring an end to security challenges in the state.
Cooperation and synergy with other security agencies and other services that we are doing, and all other stakeholders, including the people authority, where we integrate their knowledge and experience on the ground, which are key to our activities.
Katsina State Governor Aminu Bello Masari observed that though rate of security challenges have dropped in recent times, more still needs to be done to reduce the menace.
We want the military to go back to barracks. We want the police to assume their responsibility of law enforcement.
The Chief of Army Staff and his entourage were also at the palace of the Emir of Katsina, Abdulmumin Kabir Usman. The Emir called on the Army Chief to evolve new strategies in the fight against all forms of security challenges in the state. In Katsina, Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
56 terrorists and their families have surrendered to troops of Operation Hadinkai in the northeast. A statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachuku, says the terrorists surrendered their arms along with their families, comprising 18 female adults and 19 children from Chingori and other villages in Sambisa Forest in Borno State. Brigadier General Onyema Nwachuku noted that over 100 Boko Haram terrorists, ISWAP terrorists, and their families had earlier laid down their arms due to the intensity of joint military operations in the zone. Moving on now, the dwindling economic situation, in addition to the lingering security challenge in Borno, have continued to adversely affect prices of essential commodities in the market, a development that is making life unbearable for residents of Maiduguri, the state capital. Most worrying is the daily hike in prices of all kinds of commodities and goods arriving the state. Yagum Subukar has more details.
The sudden daily rise in prices of essential food items has continued to generate more concerns by residents as a result of untold hardship being faced. What is the reason behind this concern, and why is the peculiar situation worse in Borno? I have with me the President, Borno State Chamber of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, Ahmed Ashemi, who will provide answers to that.
For the last 12 years, farmers have not been able to access their farmlands. Therefore, production of food has come to a very minimum. In fact, food items have to be imported into Maiduguri, brought in to Maiduguri from other areas. And now this also takes us to another problem. On the road, for example, if you are bringing in potatoes from Mangu or Barakiladi to Maiduguri, between Jos and Maiduguri there are so many checkpoints. These checkpoints are also things that increase the price of goods that come into Maiduguri. So you see, it's a multifaceted problem. And we are doing our best to see that we make the best of this bad situation. But in certain circumstances, you find that there are unscrupulous traders and middlemen who also cash in on this. And those ones are the ones that we appeal to please soften for the population, particularly those who are affected by this insurgency. And we will call on the state government to put an effort to see that those people who are criminally increasing food items without any reason, or items of goods without any cause, to be sanctioned by government. Government has the powers to do that.
It is hoped that the situation gets back to normal for socio-economic activities to bounce back in earnest to ease the hardship faced by residents. It's back to you in the studios.
Thank you, Yagumsu. Now, the need to raise the bar of health service provision has been identified as a key requirement that will ensure health security, especially with emerging threats of diseases and other ailments. Pauline Kujevana takes a look at efforts to improve and modernize health institutions at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels to meet globally acceptable standards in service delivery.
Health security entails enhancing public health and well-being of the population through equitable distribution of hospital equipment and medical personnel. Healthcare facilities in Borno State have had a share of devastation as a result of emergency. Hence, government resolved to rebuild and rehabilitate destroyed structures to meet the health needs of the citizenry, in addition to equipping the hospitals with state-of-the-art facilities.
With the coming of the third wave, we are ever ready to manage all this. And one thing I would like us to know that Borno State is bordered by some of the countries. At the border, we have our public health workers that before you even come in, you must be tested. We are ever ready for any outbreak.
Out of the 38 hospitals under the Borno State Hospital Management Board, 23 are functional, 7 rendering skeletal services, with 8 non-functional.
Of recent, we have engaged 140 nurses, those that have retired, and also 45 specialized nurses that have also been retired from services back to the system. Despite the security challenges, the state government is doing everything possible.
On the other hand, the primary health care with 769 facilities has only 450 accessible, while 219 are inaccessible. But with improved security, some can be reopened for services.
In the primary care centers, there are trained personnel to really give services. The 450 accessible facilities, we have equipment there, we have drugs, we have our staff there. So who are responding to cases of malaria, respiratory infection, diarrheal diseases. So all these cases, we attend to them. Once a case is detected anywhere across the LGS, the rapid responses are always available to respond to it.
The University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, the Apex Health Institution, is receiving the attention of the federal government, especially with increasing global vulnerability to infectious diseases. With the state-of-the-art facilities and personnel provided by federal and Borno state governments with support of partners, it is hoped that the health security can be guaranteed amidst the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic and other contemporary health challenges. In Maiduguri, Paul Nkujovana, NTA News.
There is clearly a marked spike in cases of COVID-19 with the Delta variant, a major threat to health security as the third wave makes landfall in more communities. This has led to increased vigor, drive, and agitations for upgrading of facilities, increased manpower, training of health workers, and response to surmounting emerging threats. How can we minimize global vulnerability to infectious diseases so as to enhance public health security? Now, with me to discuss this issue on Panorama this afternoon is the Chairman, Medical Advisor, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, Professor Mala Bukar Sandabi. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you join us on Panorama this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. To start with, what are the weaknesses inherent in our health institutions from the primary to tertiary levels that may impede readiness to tackle emerging threats?
Well, let me start with the tertiary level. Most of the weaknesses or the major challenges are the manpower and funding. Manpower in such that, yes, we have many training institutions in Nigeria, but because of the funding issue, not many personnel were trained at the same time. So currently, the level of manpower we are operating at that is adequate according to WHO definition of patients-doctor ratio or nurse-doctor ratio. We are at less than 40% capacity. And because of that, if there's any major challenges like the current COVID-19, we can tackle it. But if the wave, particularly the third wave, with the Delta variant that is highly infectious, comes down to Nigeria in full force, I'm afraid we don't have that much capacity to admit and then to manage patients effectively. Because of the facility we have are limited, the manpower, the specialized manpower are also limited, then the funding is not adequate currently. Because even some of the developed countries that have similar wave currently are battling, particularly the Delta variant. India, with all its manpower and infrastructure, has suffered a lot, leading to more mortality. But currently in Nigeria, although we have the Delta variant in Nigeria, but it's not much, and now we are at the level that we can cope with it. We can manage it effectively with the limited trained manpower we have and with the limited facility. Like in University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, we have robust manpower, trained manpower, we have equipment, and then the infrastructure can accommodate up to 36 critically ill patients.
Oh, okay, doctor, tell us, how can we modernize, standardize, and enhance, service provision by health institutions to meet contemporary challenges?
Well, first is the will of the government to modernize by increasing the funding. Once there's, it means we have to purchase infrastructure, we have to purchase equipment, build more infrastructure, train more manpower anywhere in the world, and then open more training institutions in the country, because currently our population is rated at about 200 million, and most of our medical schools here graduate only, the highest is 150 to 200. That's the biggest medical school, graduate not more than 200 per annum. And total combined is not up to 5,000 that we graduate per annum, which cannot cut out. And then even with this, most of our graduates are leaving the shores of the country because of one reason or the other. So the first thing is to improve the welfare of the health personnel, increase the number of health personnel, increase the funding, increase the training centers, and then increase the facilities. With this, I'm sure Nigeria can cope. We can even export manpower if we get it right.
It's interesting to hear that. Okay, just briefly, Doctor, as a tertiary medical institution and a research center, what new developments are in place or underway in the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital to boost service provision? Just in one word.
Yeah, in the last 2 years, we've been increasing our infrastructure. We have built trauma center. We have renovated our isolation center. We have built an ICU for COVID-19 patients. We have built a new molecular laboratories. We are currently building a stroke center, which is the first of its kind in Africa. And we are also building a child institute, which will cater for everything, all children-related illnesses. With this, we'll be able to cater for specialized manpower, particularly in the northeastern part of this country.
Interesting, Doctor, and our best wishes to you. We appreciate you for being part of Panorama this afternoon.
Thank you so
We've been discussing with the Chairman Medical Advisory Committee, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, Professor Malabukar Sandabi. Let's move on now. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 566 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria within the last 24 hours. The breakdown of the new cases from 12 states indicates that Lagos State tops the daily statistics with 283 new cases, while Akwa Ibom follows with 88 new cases, Oyo and Rivers 62, FCT 18, Ogun 17, Ekiti 12, Kwara 11, Plateau 6, while Zamfara. The day's tally is, however, completed by Kaduna and Katsina states with 2 new cases each. With this development, Nigeria now has 176,577 total confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 165,323 have been treated and discharged, while the death toll is now 2,178. And just before we leave you on Panorama, don't forget to stand with the Nigerian Television Authority in its ongoing war against rape and rapists. And from the Panorama team from the NTA Maiduguri Zonal Network Center, my name is Abubakar Mohammed Musa saying, do have a nice day.
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
Support Service of the NTA.
Sheer adventurism is driving me to go deep into the Onyama mines. It is the biggest coal mine in the whole of South. Well, the coronation of the new Oni is a watershed in the history of the Yoruba land generally, and Ife in particular. Now, because they have a leader now, that will... Simply put, Gura is a beautiful countryside with awesome landscapes. If something differently would be done to the Nigerian textile industries, that our youth would be employed. Only the people that attend the church here can tell you. Service in Holy Rosa is indeed. We are taking a canoe tour of the communities on the bank of River Niger in Getsu.
On the plateau, the sites and trees from various states, the food basket of the nation. Let's put our hands together.
Whenever I reflect on Nigeria's cultural heritage, I see images of excellence.
I'm sure we are all. We love the dance from Benue, white and black, the colors, red and black. The next stage is Cross River.
The reality of Nigeria's cultural excellence is a function of the collective will of the diversity of the country to never let go of their past and their history. This, of course, is in defiance to external forces, of which modernity and long history of contact with the outside world are just a few.
We welcome all of you once again to Plateau State, the home of peace and tourism. And the whole of Nigeria is gathered in this state to celebrate.
To the credit of the National Council for Arts and Culture, it sustains drive to annually bring Nigeria together to the showcase of the diversity and uniqueness of the cultural perspectives of every corner of this great country. This allowed the world to take notice. Otherwise, there is no formal forum presently that actually bring the country together in one blast of cultural expression of a national nature. I am giving a deep thought to the last time the National Festival of Arts and Culture NAFES was held. It was in Jos, the Plateau State capital. In a previous episode here, we look at some highlights of that epic event. But the full story is far from told. It was a blitz of Nigerian culture unedited. But there were themes as sub-themes, and a scholarly interrogation of the fields and premises of Nigerian culture.
And now, the ancestral mask goes to seek for the one who shall bring transformation. She goes to bring the one who shall bring reformation. She goes to find the one who shall beat the...
It supports a field of culture, golf motion. What are the roles of children and youth in the development and preservation of Nigerian culture? The questions are multiple, and our engagement will be thematically on point. Plateau State is a cultural entity. Its ethnic composition have history of keeping calendars of a major festival. Pusdum is a major festival among the Angas nation. It happens during Easter period and has a national appeal. At any rate, it brings the Angas people home at Easter to the celebration of their cultural heritage. In all occasions, the Ongolongas is the major driver of the festival. It is so with the Birom too. They maintain a national festival, the Nze Birom, and it's a clarion call to all Birom to be home and celebrate their history and culture. The Birom inhabit Jos North and Jos South mainly, Riom and Barikiladi. The point here is, when Nafes arrive Jos, it becomes a get-together of the national cultural ambassadors in the home of culture. Yes, Jos is a fitting platform for the festival, and its empathy was total. Everywhere, you meet actualities of a major festival, a feeling that something musical and entertaining is in the offing. On the opening day, I amused myself on the sideline. I followed groups' dress rehearsals, and they are good to see. All the groups on these rehearsals are from various local government areas of Plateau State. As host state, every local government area of Plateau State brings forward its cultural ambassadors to represent it. It turned out to be a precocious delivery of music, dance, costumes, and traditional beliefs. The National Festival of Arts and Culture is built on themes. Like in many states where previously NAFEST was held, children and youth are at the heart of its programming. It was so Jos too. In this hall, children were put into a contest, what they can do differently with their hands, handicraft for survival, and the children show rare capacity for the craft. Over the years, National Festival of Arts and Culture has tried to bring in children and youth into the mainstream of anything that is cultural and arts in Nigeria. In fact, in Jos, there are over 7 programs that are meant to address only youth and children. Like where we are, it's an arts and craft competition, and various states are here, more than 12, and they are competing harmoniously for a prize on arts and craft, and you'll be amazed. Every state has something it's bringing on the table that is unique and defines it. That is the beauty of it, bringing on youth and children to be the drivers of Nigeria's cultural revolution.
For a very long time, there's a disconnection with the Nigerian youths and the reality of life. So we've now used this platform of NAFES to bring Nigerian youth and the children to come and start to catch them young at the early stage. If not, they will imbibe other people's culture. They will imbibe other people's arts and craft. So now you can see them doing things that is original to us, that is indigenous. By the time they get to a certain age, they will appreciate what the elders are doing culturally.
But my fear, Otumba, is the fact that after NAFES, what happens to these children?
Well, what we've tried to do, we've tried to set up a capacity building strategy through their handlers.
This boy from Plateau is making a chair made out of bamboo. The girl from Enugu is engaged on her tailoring contest, and the rest of them. Can you see this chair? It looks good and effective. And believe me, I feel, if you have this chair, it may last maybe as long as 10 years or more. And you know what happens? At NAFES 22 in Jos, it was made by this young man. You talk of skills among children. Who said that when you teach our children skills, they will not be able to develop and do something different, and that will change their lives? And I think that's what is happening here. Zona anamagani? Zona. You can see the man who makes the chair is right there on the seat, and it doesn't break with him. It won't break with you either, which means that there is quality and strength in what this guy is doing.
Because they are used to, it's a surprise for everybody that someone like their children to be in this, because it is good for Nigeria on the next day.
Okay, so you are learning something now? Do you know how to do this thing before?
Yes.
Okay, and now what did this one teach you? It makes you to do it better?
Yes.
Okay, so what is this you are making?
Fan.
And fan?
Yes.
And you make it with the sewing machine?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do it at home, or you are doing it first here?
No.
Have you been doing it at home?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the first I've heard. This it has tree to put on it and nail. It is as tree to put on it and nail. Okay. This is the answer.
In yet another competition for children in the Jos Festival is playing the traditional instruments, national musical instruments, and this comes a complete package with the relevant cultural attires and swag that characterize such music. The organizers of the festival believe that culture should have its keepers in the emerging society's population. The emerging population must be made to take these cultural activities too and see them as indispensable aspect of what they are. Some 10 states entered this competition, and their performances had been awesome. The two competitions were designed for skills development. Crucially too, they are tailored as a means of income generation and self-development. Here lies a major punchline of NAFES. It is an extravagant exhibition of cultural heritage, all right, but it is also inclined to supporting skills development and lifetime of occupational engagement. In fact, it is a major feature of NAFES over the years that wherever it holds, youths in the whole state are mobilized to have skills acquisition training. In Plateau State, more than 3,000 youths were so mobilized, and they receive 4 days of intense hands-on training on various aspects of skills development. The youth are grouped according to their area of their interest. The Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Shegun, was close to the training exercise always, reinforcing the need for the youth to take to their skills acquisition seriously for income generation and self-reliance. Experienced tutors from the local environment were engaged to put the youth through. There was training in tailoring, make-up and gele making, pomade making, and air freshener. Despite the population in this training, the youth humbled themselves to the exercises. In the end of the day, they were given certificates as evidence of their newly acquired skills. You sometimes don't attend to a manless sport without a flourish, without drums, danger warriors who are setting out to a competitive sport. NAFES enjoys featured archery. Virtually all the states of the Federation brought archers to the Jos NAFES. Every archer is allowed 2 throws and is expected to hit specific points in a fixed target. The competition was intense. Men tried and failed. Many came agonizingly close. And at the end of the day, only one competitor chalked up enough points to score and win. Archery is an indispensable feature of the evolutions of many states in Nigeria. In the north especially, there is scarcely an emirate without a cavalry of archers. In the wars of the time past, the archers are always a unit of the fighting commands. They play prominent roles too in hunting expeditions and are noted as traditional medicine men. This perhaps explains the heavy northern participation in the archery competition, which involve elderly men in familiar archers' costume who traditionally are typecast as archers. It is perhaps apt that while NAPES was going on in Jos, a group of Angas community from Ron in Kenki local government area of the Plateau State came to me to cry about a dying heritage. It is an ancient culture of a special bag that is only identified with the Angas nation on Plateau State. For hundreds of years, this multi-purpose bag adorned the shoulders of majority traditional Angas people, but the art is threatened by mortality. Baba Meshach here is one of the last representative of that generation of people who make this bag and who made a name out of it in wrong. But then, Baba Meshach is Asian, and the fear is life, that this community are afraid that a time may come when there will not be anybody in wrong community who will be making a bag, which has a history of over 200 years happening within that community. Baba Meshach, shekara kano kana yin wannan sana'a? Well, before I miss it, Mr. Meshach here is telling me that there was a time in their area when virtually every part of the community is involved in making this bag. It is not always the sole occupation of the people, because people tamper this thing with their agriculture. But then it is holistic. Virtually all the communities are engaged into it, and it provides them with an alternative income to do their livelihood. And then people from outside Kenke come to buy from all over of Plateau State. And when they buy, the people get something. And they take it to the market too and hang it in a market store. People still buy. And then they use it also to go to the market. Their women go to the market. That is as interesting as this thing has been. But then, like I told you, the phobia is real. These people are afraid that a time may come when there may not be anybody who may be baking this bag, while in actual fact, there have been hundreds of people that were directly involved in making them at a point in their own lives. That is the phobia of this man. This man says he has spent almost 85 years doing it. Historically, the bag has never been without market. Title holders routinely order for tens of them as gift items to their guests and subjects. It is a must-have also for virtually every rural Angas person as well. Its average unit price in modern estimates is 10,000 naira only.
Well, this bag is a special bag to the Ngas nation in Chile. When you look at the Ngas logo, you will see this bag in the middle, then two horns by the side. So by the time that this bag is no more, that means the entire nation is also dead. That is one of my first fear why I want this bag to be produced in large quantity so that it can provide livelihood to the younger generation and also the continuation of heritage.
There is a conscious effort now to revive this dying art of special bag in the Angas nation. Governments are bringing in youth to appreciate their cultural heritage and work at preserving it. Some non-governmental organizations are involved as well. Perhaps it is important to understand that traditionally, this bag carries everything with it that traditional engagement with the natural environment allows for the Angas man, from hunting catches to food on the way to the farmlands, and a lot such like. One other important exhibition at the Jos Nafes was local cuisines, a display of rich Nigerian dishes. States come up with exotic displays of the food variety in their local environment and the wide range of resources that their states are endowed with. NAPES officials, led by the DG National Council for Arts and Culture, took a deliberate tour of state pavilions to observe the cuisine and marvel at their variety and taste. I have a close look at some of these cuisines from Taraba and Benue states. Along all the stands we go to, where this cuisine competition is going on, you will find that variety of food that are available in Nigeria. Now the issue is, you find that Nigeria has rich content of what you call food for its own sake, that we don't need to import food. Like obviously fish. Look at what they have here. Dried fish, which means that we have adequate facility by which we can treat our fish so that it does not waste. And then, of course, you can find the fresh fish here. Fish is a rich source of protein, but then it is there in enough quantity in Nigeria. But the question has always been that, why has it not been across all the country, all the states, so that people can benefit?
We need to train our children about the cultures, and we also need to make sure that we harness our own tourism potentials.
Develop them.
Yeah. We have very high tourism potential in Taraba State. We have the Mambla Hill.
We are doing food fair, and you are welcome to Benue Kitchen. As you can see, we have prepared pounded yam. As food basket of the nation, we prepare pounded yam with roasted chicken and Benesit soup to serve for the event. So you are welcome to Benue Pavilion.
Are you saying that all that we have seen at Benue, are produced locally in Benue, or you have food that you bring from outside?
No, they are prepared locally in Benue State.
Well, no, I mean the produce, like I have banana,
yes,
pineapple.
We have banana, apple, sweet melon, the yam tuber, as you can see, and the purple. They are all prepared in Benue.
Are they produced in Benue?
Yes, they are produced in Benue now. They are produced in Benue. That is why we are food basket of the nation.
Generally, you just have to take a deep look at these local cuisines to marvel at the exceptional endowment of this country with the food resources. Short of being a glutton, one can die of overeating in this place. Generally, however, NAPES has been able to bring to global notice what an exceptional country we are in terms of our resources, in terms of our people, and in terms of our culture.
Agebenu Omoha is a graduate of Benue State Polytechnic, Ubokolo, from the Department of Graphic Art. He is very passionate about his work and has made it a point of duty to add value to young and aspiring artists. He goes from school to teach different aspects of art expression.
This batik is being produced. The batik you see people wear, like the Yorubas and the Cameroonians wear most of the time, how they produce them. This is the processes on how they go about it. Like what you can see here are the materials. This is the one we melted. The reason why we melt this one is because there are some places you don't want a dye to absorb on the fabric. So you apply the wax on the fabric to make sure that the dye don't penetrate that place. That is the reason why we use the candle wax. As for the rest, they go together, but the candle wax stands alone. And for the brush you are seeing here, you can use the brush to use in making design on the fabric. I'll spray the fabric and then we'll begin to apply the candle wax on the fabric. To dry for about 5 minutes, and then we'll prepare the dye stuff before we can dye it. Now this is the warm water that we're going to mix our dye chemicals in before dyeing. You don't have to allow the water to boil very well, because if it boils and it's very hot, when you dip this fabric in it, it will melt the wax away. And then these are the dye stuff. We have two colors, one color. They are both green. So you pour everything in the water. Mix everything in the water. So the next thing you do now is to soak the fabric in the dye stuff that's already prepared. We are now soaking it. You can see the white area. That is the area of the candle wax. The candle did not allow the dye stuff to penetrate. So rinse it in this normal water. The reason why I'm going to rinse it is because of the caustic soda. If you don't rinse it, that caustic soda, if you use it and sew any cloth and then you put it on when the sun becomes very high, you begin to itch your body. So that is the reason why I'm going to rinse it in this normal water.
Lives are in your hands while you drive. Protect yourself and others on the road. Road Matters, shown on the network service of the NTA. Join us.
Hello, how are you today? It's a pertinent question for me because I always want to be sure that all our friends are hale and hearty. Now, it is Conversations, and my name is Elizabeth. What is our focus today? 19th of this month will be a day again as set out every year to recognize and celebrate persons living with sickle cell anemia. And the good news about it for me is that a whole lot is happening, and the situations are not as bad as they were back in the years. A lot of them are surviving, a lot of them are doing great things. It does not take away anything from who you are, does not reduce who you are at all. As a matter of fact, I was corrected by a friend who is also living with this sickle cell anemia that she is not a patient, she is not a sickler, rather, she is a warrior. And I have such people seated here with me, all the warriors in the house. We have a regular warrior. Let me let you do your introduction.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Deva Mom, and it's a delight to be with you this morning. Like Elizabeth said, we'll be talking about sickle cell disease, sickle cell disorder, sickle cell anemia, whatever you want to call it. The focus today is on sickle cell disease.
Okay. So,
my name is Afiz Ademi. I'm a filmmaker and actually a sickle cell warrior as well.
Okay.
And,
yeah. Nice to have you. Break quickly, and when we return, the whole discussion will set in. So let's do a quick break.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh,
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me. Remove that picture.
By the way, still conversations. I'm always tempted to jump in immediately and start talking because that's what we do here. It's conversations, and you mentioned earlier that we're going to be looking at sickle cell disorder, sickle cell anemia, sickle cell disease. When you were, streamlining it, in my head I was going, what's the difference? When is it a disorder? When is it a disease? When is it anemia? I don't know. Can you enlighten
I really don't know myself, but I know that the terms are used interchangeably. I recall mentioning one time, I said something about sickle cell anemia, and somebody corrected me, a medical practitioner corrected me that no, it's a sickle cell disorder. And then somebody else said it's sickle cell disease. So I just mentioned all the plethora of names, whichever one works best for you, whichever one you're most conversant with. That's what we're talking about today.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing anyways. The anemia, I think, is because we know every sickle cell warrior is anemic. Anyway, so that's where the anemia comes from. And the disorder is just the blood being sickled, being misshaped, which makes it
that
disorder.
shape that you have.
Which makes it the disorder part of it. Then the disease is the actual fact that everybody assumes it's a disease anyway. So I think that's where the mix-up
all the titles
comes from.
Okay.
Everything.
So whatever it is, that's what our focus is. Now, what I usually wonder is, how did we get to that level? And a lot of times they tell me it's about the genotype. I am not going to be asking about genotype as at your parents because I know it's none of your business. It already happened. But I'd like to know, The three of you are warriors, and I've known Devon particularly for a very long time. And in fact, the early days I knew her, the only thing I know is that she was always in the office. She never breaks down. What is the magic?
Oh, I was breaking down.
We didn't notice.
That's because, well, I'll be eternally grateful to the NTA structure. In the earlier years, right up, I was with NTA for 12 years, but a certain mix of, incidents in my life now led to depression, which in turn affected my health, my physical health, very badly. So in the years before I started having frequent physical or health challenges, I had a very good run of, very good health. I had a grueling schedule and I'd keep up with it and everything. So the people I was working with, my bosses in the office already knew I had a very good work ethic. So when my health challenges started becoming more frequent, they were sympathetic. They were able to accommodate the situation and they gave me all the support system I needed. I was given the privacy I needed. It was never, if anybody in the office knew I was ill, it wasn't coming from management. It was me telling my friends or colleagues, this is the reason I've not been in the office and so on and so forth. So it was well managed. And that was because whenever I am not ill, I'm giving my 110%. My program never fails. If it fails, then it's certainly a circumstance outside what I can control and so on and so forth. So I had a very good work ethic, and the bosses I was working with really appreciated that. So for those times when I wasn't well enough to do what I needed to do, I always had a support system. The kind of entity NTA is, it's not possible for one person. It's a family. So whenever somebody falls down the crack, there's always people to cover up and keep you looking good, and nobody really knows what's up. But I know that toward the last 5 years or so before I left NTA, I was constantly in and out of hospital.
I was here with you, but I always said, this girl, what's her problem? She's always on air.
I just had a very good support system at that time.
She's so much of a Jackie.
No, I had a very good support system.
I know that with all the, things that a lot of people fear about the SS people, you have been up and about. You're a filmmaker. And you didn't just get up and you decided to make film. You actually went to places. I know you were in London.
Yes.
You were in New York Film Academy. Even one of Jos, all in a bid to study filmmaking. And I work in the industry. I know it's not as fun as people look at it in the house. It's tough.
Yes.
I want to know the buttons you were pressing on your body and you were able to move on.
I think firstly, I love the job. That was the first thing that got me going. I love the job, and the moment I was able to travel out for my bachelor's and everything, I didn't really get into much of the practical aspect of filmmaking yet. But until I traveled to New York and LA, which was where I studied a short course, then moved to LA for my master's degree, which was more of an hands-on production and all of that. It was that moment I knew, okay, I could do this. I was more of an editor, laid back, just sit at the computer and just do stuff for people and everything. But as I started evolving, I realized I could do almost every aspect of filmmaking.
You could call the shots?
Yes. So I started doing cinematography. Then I felt, okay, if I'm editing and I can call the shots, then definitely I can do the directing as well. So when I got to the New York Film Academy in LA, we were opportune to do our own individual projects. So which is where those ideas came in to start, okay, I'm a sickle cell warrior. How can I tell stories that reflect my reality? And I felt, okay, God has blessed me already. I have the tools. all I have to do is just to make it work. That's all I needed. So from that moment, from my first 2 short films to my feature film, which I did in recent times, I was somebody that even when I fell ill and I was discharged from the hospital, the moment I got home, the next day I'm back at the office. I'm working. They complain a lot and all of that, but I kept telling them that I would rest when I die.
You rest when you die?
Yes.
That's
so
a
let me
tough
do
one.
whatever I can do now. And because of the mindset or the idea that people have when it comes to sickle cell warriors, that okay, your lifespan is limited and all of that, so you felt okay, you need to rush and do science things and make things work, let people see you, leave a legacy and all of that. So I think that was what pushed me the most, and I was lucky as well to have people that I worked with. They were incredible people, and I have my own company as well, which made it easier. And aside that, the family.
What's the name of your company?
Epitome Studios.
Epitome Studio.
Yes.
Okay, it's a production house.
It's a production house. So we decided to do that and produce whatever I needed to produce. And my focus was solely focused on sickle cell, because I needed a way for people to understand what we're going through.
Did you also try to act in the movie?
No.
It would have been nice to see you in it. Director, I know you have a bit of that movie. If you're ready with it, kindly let me know so that we can see a bit of what he's done. Are you ready? Okay, so let's just see it at once.
I've told you that. Don't you understand? It's not going to come through in my lifetime.
Mommy, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ now, mommy?
It is not going to work out like that. You had better give yourself a rethink now.
Daddy, Timbapo, daddy anyway.
Should be like father, like son.
He took after you. He took after you. A very stubborn and inconsiderate child of yours.
Well, he is his father's son now. He is your son.
Ọmọ ẹni. Ẹnu ẹ̀ láwà yìí.
Ó wà bọ́ lórí títì ni. You, agbẹ́ni kọlu ni aláǹgbọ̀rọ̀ èṣù, I will show you. Kí ló dé tẹ́yìn ẹgbẹ́nu sílẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ kẹ́ bá sòótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ ń fẹ́ yín? Àbí? Get out of my parlour. Why did you choose to hurt me this way? But why? Why?
I love her so much, Mom.
So much more than me? You love her to the extent that you have to hurt your own mother, a dead woman walking?
Mommy, say all you wish, but those words won't change a thing.
What kind of a girl? What kind of a girl will force her way into a man's life and separate him from his family? And then you talk about loving. I'm hurting. Is this what she wants?
Mom.
Wow. Afiz, you actually did that?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any expo somewhere? I really felt touched, but for me, I don't know. I should just say congratulations in a big way, in capital letters, if you can actually see me spell them out. It's lovely. We'll get to talk more about that, but let me quickly move to Ms. Mohammed here, who is an accountant turned writer as well. How has the journey been for you?
Well, like any typical
warrior. It has not been an easy journey, but for most of us, what drives us is that ambition, that determination that look, we must not give up. No matter the struggle we are going through, we must survive. And happily enough, I have very supportive parents, family generally. So all these things aided in my struggle. And by the time I start working, like Divan mentioned something about good work ethics, that really played well for me. I was with Daily Trust.
You worked with them?
Yes, for almost 18 years. I was the GM Finance, General Manager Finance. And honestly, the environment that I worked made things very easy for me. From almost immediately I joined, I have free access to it. Unlike, even before they approved that same facility for that staff, they already did that for me. So working in such an environment makes your job easier, and of course you don't delay things. After was saying something like, whatever you want to achieve it on time. That thing goes for all that. Look, whatever you can achieve today, don't delay it tomorrow. And that's the style with which I work. You can't bring a file to my table, then you find it lying down. Except some that demand critical thinking, you want to sleep over. But all my work, I clear my table every day. So these are the things that help us, yes, on our work side. On our medical side, and we will ensure, my doctor said this, I have to keep to it. Even though we find out something about our crisis is that no matter how you are meticulous with all the regiments that you should keep, the crisis still comes. But then, you always have this, I have a life to live, I have a goal, you keep on moving. So that is how we've been able to survive it.
I'd like to know, how did you go into writing? Because accountancy, great, is and unless you're telling me you're writing about accountancy.
No, even my taking a career in accountancy, I would say, is because of my sickle cell.
Really?
Yes. Actually,
where is the correlation?
I studied accounting at the university.
Mm-hmm.
But after graduation, I left the university in 1990. So after graduation, at that time, not the same thing as obtains now. Passing ICANN exam is really a difficult thing for you then, because the way the whole thing was structured. So I asked myself, after the stress I went through at IFE, do I still want to sit down reading books again? Of course, I was working in an accounting firm. Along the line, I have these nasty complications of sickle cell that I was bedridden for almost 2 years.
Wow.
I spent almost a year at University College Hospital in Ibadan. Went through surgery and so many things. So by the time I came out of the hospital, I have to start physiotherapy. So that was the only thing I was doing at home. And that was how I told myself, look, with my situation, my best bet is, if I'm in accounting, if I'm an accountancy profession, I know that my movement will not be much if I'm in business. That was how I started reading for my ICANN exams. And believe you me, at the first sitting, I cleared my paper.
Wow.
And that is the can-do spirit in we warriors. We have that. Yes, many of us, we do go through depression. We've suffered it several times. Hardly will you see a warrior that will not tell that at one time or the other he or she was having depression. But at the same time, we always come out of it. So back to my story. After passing my exams, I started working at an audit firm. Because one thing for us, we always want to have this required period that you should practice so that you can have your own license too, that you can start your own firm. So after I've been able to do that, I joined Daily Trust, that Media Trust, and joining Media Trust was wow for me, honestly. And I went there with that work ethic that, look, whatever I can achieve today, I should not delay it to tomorrow.
You know, I'm going to take a pause on that and come back so that you can link me up to how you move from accountancy to writing. I'm interested in the book.
Yes.
Especially if it's not in accounting. I don't know how to account. So let's quickly take this break. When we come back, the show continues.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Alright, if you're just joining us, you haven't missed much, but you've actually missed a lot too. It's conversation, and our today's focus is on sickle cell, be it disorder, disease, anemia, all of it put together. And we have in the studio warriors who incidentally are all my friends, and they've expressed how they've been able to conquer, and they're doing great things, which is why they are the warriors they are. Now, against all odds, you worked as accountant, you have written a book. I still want to talk about that book. What is the title, and is it about sickle cell as well, or accountancy, or just you?
Well, my book is titled I'm a Survivor.
I'm a survivor.
Yes.
Okay, it's about sickle cell.
Yes, the story of my triumph over sickle cell pains.
That's your personal experience.
That is my personal experience.
Okay.
As growing up as a sickle cell patient, as a warrior. And actually what motivates me to write the book is, for quite some time I've been having this idea that yes, I should write. But when I left the service of Daily Trust in 2018, I now do more sickle cell advocacy. I interact with people within the sickle cell community, some foundations. I find that I was involved more in counseling. Through this counseling, I keep on repeating my own stories to motivate others. Because like I said, most of us are going through health situation, whatever the challenges you are going, you can surmount it.
All right, you have been exposed to a whole lot of people, you know. What is the most trying thing for them? You know, most other warriors or patients, as you call them, what is the most challenging thing? Because this year's team actually says shine the light on sickle cell. That means give it enough publicity. And NTA, in our strides, we've taken the bull by the horn to be the champions, to, you know, set the pace rolling for other people. And I want to use your voice and advocate, you know, to find out the, you know, touching problems of other people out there.
Yes, I'll say the challenges are multidimensional. It's not just one issue. One, I'll say sometimes people accepting us. We find out that we face so much discrimination.
Discrimination?
Yes, in the society.
Really?
That one is there.
I actually think that?
Yes, it's true.
Wow.
We face so much discrimination in the society. But if you go for a job interview now, no matter how good you are, and you dare mention that you're a warrior, honestly, if they are saying yes, this is a good person for us, that one will count against you. In most cases, not in all cases, because I can always say my own case, I thank God for it. That is one, that discrimination. Then issue of access to health is still a challenge to many people. You know, like I said, I joined so many foundations, and what I find out is that for people to be able to go to hospital, sometimes we may have to be contributing, this one donating 1,000 naira, 500 naira to get them. In fact, if I may be allowed to say this is one of the things I seek out to achieve with my book. Like, look, on my own parts, the process of my book, from the launching I'm doing, I want to sponsor 100 sickle cell patients.
Well,
on NHIS.
you're going to launch the book.
Yes. I want to do that, okay, let me get indigent sickle cell patients, 100 of them. Let me put them on NHIS. So at least this one will go a long way in helping them have access to health. Because one thing about us, delay, someone is in crisis, the next thing the person needs is to be in the hospital, get all the necessary medication at that time. But by the time you are delaying, it could bring so many other complications. So access to it is also a very key challenge. So those are for now. I think for now, my colleagues may have other ideas that they want to say.
Okay, and maybe I should turn back to.
Yeah, those were some pertinent points he mentioned. For my part, I never had issues with, like, moving from one job to the next. Like with NTA, I served and was retained. Although they knew while I was serving that I was genotype SS, my work ethic, I'm sure, played in for me. So I was retained. When I left NTA, I went to the BBC World Service Trust at the time. At the moment, it's the BBC Media Action. Nobody asked me about my health, so it wasn't a piece of information. I just randomly volunteered. I got the job. My next job after that, I worked on a USAID-funded project in Nasarawa State. Nobody asked me about my health. I didn't volunteer the information. I got the job. After that, I headed a small NGO, a local NGO here in Abuja. Nobody asked me about my health status. I didn't volunteer the information. And then after that, I worked on a World Health Organization, World Bank assisted project. Again, my health was not something that anybody asked me about during the interview, so I didn't volunteer the information. I got the job. So, but I guess in other instances where if it's a direct, do you have any health issues you'd like to share with us? Oh, of course I'd mention it, but that never came up. I got all the jobs I, ever attended an interview for. In fact, at a point I started getting big-headed about it. I was like, please don't call me for an interview. I'm going to nail the job. So for me, that was never an issue, but I do realize that it would probably be for other people. It was not my reality. I didn't face such challenges. And even during the course of work, when people came to realize, that, oh, I have this challenge, I got the support I needed to do the work I needed to do. And I was fine. But in my relationship life, there'll be, back then when I was still single, on a number of occasions, you're just sitting with somebody, in the early days, you're just hanging out, trying to know each other before you decide if you want to date or not. And on one or two occasions, purely by, you're just gisting and somebody's like, I can't stand sicklers. Because, that happened to me like twice. And the person, we were just talking randomly, and that came up. I can't stand. They're so always talking about how sick they are and how on all this, that, and the other. And I laughed and laughed and I said, no, seriously, I can't stand it. And I didn't say anything. We continued hanging out for a while. So when the guy eventually got round to actually asking me out, and I said, well, I don't think it'll work, He's like, no, I really enjoy your company. I like you. I said, I like you as a friend. We can stay friends, but I don't want to. Why? I said, well, you did say you don't like sicklers, as that was the common term back then, and I happen to be one. So I don't know how. Oh, hi, but you don't look it. You guys have they have a look and everything. I'm like, yeah, right. I said, but since that is something that's really, because you really went on about it, I said, I can't get over how negatively you spoke about it, and I always feel some type of way, so let's just be friends and all that. So relationships, yeah. And then sometimes family members, some people think you have a friend and they're scared that they think it's a cough.
Really?
Yeah,
That can be.
is it contagious?
Are you serious?
Things like that. But I think that those
It really
things
shows they're not educated enough.
So there's a bit of ignorance going on around that, but it's not something I ever found hurtful per se. Maybe because I grew up in a home where my mother was a nurse. So from when I was a small child, they never hid it. It was very common knowledge. So I also grew up not hiding it. Not I don't. That's not the first thing I'll tell you about myself. But at some point, if we're friends or if you're around me, I'll definitely release the information, so that if I get sick or something, you won't be speculating and wondering what's wrong. You'll know exactly what's up with me. So I grew up in a home where my parents were very open with the information. I also never hid it and so on. So I've not experienced too much discrimination or stigma, just a little bit of it here and there. And I remember when I first started advocacy many years ago, a friend of mine told me I was feeling cool about being sick. I didn't know whether to be amused or what. I was like, why would you say that? But the person was really like, no, you are feeling so cool about being sick. And I'm sorry, but that made me take several steps back. It made me feel like, do people think
it's a joy?
It's a joy. It's something I like or something. Yeah. So it really made me step back. So I've experienced things like that, but not ordinarily anything that keeps me awake at night.
It's better that way. I would like to share your own story a little bit. And I know you're married.
Yes.
And you have children. Was it that easy to woo your wife when she found out? How did she feel?
The truth is, I'm not. If I think about it most times, I'm like, okay, I'm still married. Okay.
When are you going to think that you won't be married after a while?
I mean, because like she said, relationships were headaches. Even if you get anybody to go out with you by telling them that you're a warrior and everything. And I was somebody that I didn't tell people. I never did. But probably my close friends, probably my roommates and everything. And that was because, like she said, if anything happens and everything, so they can be able to rush you to the hospital and all that. So probably my one was more of when I get into the relationship proper and everything, I just somehow believe that I might not go into crisis in the relationship. So I try to view, that and assume that miracles could happen and everything, but it didn't work like that. But the thing was, I had several relationships that met here and that's the end of that relationship. It's done and everything. And my wife, actually, the time I was asking her out, I was doing it as a joke. Like, I didn't want any disappointment, so that it won't be like, oh, I can't go out with you, and I won't be heartbroken. Because as at that time, she was actually in a relationship as well. And the brother was someone I was staying with and very close with when I was in the UK. So it was someone that assisted in the whole wooing. He asked her, and she said, no, it cannot work because I have somebody. But the good thing was that even when she got around to say, okay, fine, I'll do it and everything, it wasn't out of sympathy or anything. Because when she told her family, I was actually afraid of the family mostly. But they were the ones that surprised me the most. They were like, okay, is sickle cell, fine. If you are okay with that, then because you are the one that's gonna get married to him, so at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you are okay with it, then we will support you and everything. And the incredible thing is that the family are amazing people. No judgment, none of that from them. I know. So she's an incredible woman as well. We have 2 kids, one on the way as well. So
one on the way. This guy is not joking with anybody. That's nice. That's nice. Congratulations.
The one on the way was more, women. Oh God. But yes. But in terms of discrimination, I think that's basically what the issue is. Especially, you guys actually got lucky with your jobs, because usually organizations, companies don't employ sickle cell warriors.
Really?
Yes. They don't. They just feel it's mismanagement, it's a waste, because they know the back and forth hospital and everything, so they feel there are lapses.
Well, I've never taken it for granted. I just know I have the devil's luck.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It's luck. So
somebody actually wrote, he said, Devon, you weren't asked about your health status because you look healthy. All right. Probably that's why you were switching job.
Exactly. So
I guess.
I mean, especially it's even common in the US and in the UK. They have these petitions going on how they need to treat sickle cell warriors, in the workplace and everything. So it's something that is there. It's just that's why you see a lot of warriors are self-employed. They have their own businesses because they know they could get up to do it anytime they want, and they can employ people to actually do the job for them. So that's that. And I think that's basically it. And like you said, the hospital thing, and when you get to the hospital, that is the worst.
That is the worst?
Yes.
That's supposed to be a relief place.
So, I mean, I am somebody that's, I think for 3 years or more now, I have stopped going to the hospital.
For 3 years?
Yes.
So how do you cope?
Because I can't stand them.
What's the challenge really? I want to understand.
The challenge is you're meant to go to the hospital, right? To
Yes.
get the relief, the care, the attention and everything. But you get there and you've been discriminated on. Now, a doctor comes to you and you tell the doctor, okay, I'm in pain. And the thing with most warriors is that we can handle pains.
Yeah.
In terms of not showing it.
I almost died one day because I was being strong.
Yes.
The I'm sorry to interrupt, but the nurse de-escalated what was up with me.
Because you weren't shouting?
Because I wasn't screaming and rolling on the floor. Meanwhile, I was almost passing out with pain. It was when the doctor, who is more familiar with my case, came in. He screamed, "Why is she still sitting here? Why haven't you done this?" "Oh, she doesn't look agitated." That was the most frustrating thing I've ever, because I was sitting there literally doing what I could not. I mean, there are times when you're in so much pain that even to gasp, you are frightened because you feel as if it will escalate the pain. So I was sitting there controlling every last fiber of my being, and this woman had, deprioritized my situation to attend to people who were coming in with headaches and leg pains and this, that, and the other. And the doctor almost had a fit when he came in and saw me sitting there. "Oh, she didn't know. Sorry.
Nah, I mean, that's it. Like, we don't show pain, but the thing is, we are dying, you get, and they stroll in, they do whatever, and when you ask, okay, I need my pain meds. Now they come in with this concept or this idea that you're not supposed to take certain medications. And I'm like, okay, you're right. but I've been on this journey now, so I know what works for me. I know what I'm allergic to, and I know what won't waste our time together. And the next thing that comes out from a medical practitioner's mouth is, oh, it's because you're a junkie, you're a drug addict.
Oh,
you're just here.
I've never experienced
You're
that.
just here to get drugs and everything. Yes.
I've not experienced that.
I spoke to someone recently that just pulled her daughter out of the hospital. The same thing happened to her in front of the mom. The mom was the one that was telling me that this was what she went through, and she was like, you could see that she's in pain, you could see that she's suffering, and you could dare call her that happens, and it is the worst, truthfully. So yeah, I mean, that's there.
All right, it's heart touching.
I think I share what Afiz said, but I have a slight view of it that yes, when you go through such abuse, that's what I'll call it now. What do you do?
Okay.
To me, I've had one or two incidents like that in one of the hospitals I do attend. Of course, things were rectified for me. And in Abuja today, the only hospital I always recommend is that, oh, you have this, better you go to National Hospital. Many people will still complain about National Hospital, but for me, it works for me. And this is what I do. National Hospital have this Savicom unit.
Where you can report.
Exactly. That unit, to me, it works perfectly well. Except that maybe among us, sometimes you feel so frustrated, let me just go back. Some doctors could be nasty. I remember one incident.
Someone actually wrote this and they say some doctors are wicked, especially
honestly,
when they come to sickle cell disorder.
I was in crisis. I went to the emergency. Normally, what I normally before I get there, I have my own contact that I will call the wait for. But in this case, I just went there. That doctor on duty that day was on call for almost 20-30 minutes, and I was in front of
phone call.
Yes, I was there in pains, and when he finished, what he asked me, what's your problem? I said, I'm in crisis. Can you imagine what the reply was? Like, financial crisis.
That's
joke.
Yes.
The joke.
I just look at this person that I was not in that combative mood that day. Because the truth is, for me, I don't take things like that for granted. If it is up to Nigerian Medical Council, honestly, I will write. Because I've had incidents that I've reported doctors like that, and actions were taken. So when issues like this come up, when discussion like this come up, I always like to use that on opportunity. Like, look, fellow warriors, when you are going through any abuse like this, please don't keep quiet. Report to the appropriate authority.
Because
How many do you want to report? That is one. How many want to fight back?
No, I still think that in line with the theme of the celebration, if we shine the light on the bad ones, if it's a collective effort, there are human rights activists who will carry it up. If everybody reports, their problem, together we can actually begin to, because if Devon is complaining, this person is complaining, the other person is complaining, ears will begin to listen. And that complaint may not just be for you who is passing through it at a time, because from your exposure you're able to handle things for yourself. It could be for that poor girl, for that poor boy who does not know what to do. You begin to pave way for that person. I sincerely think you're in line. We should be able to report these issues. Now, before I start battling or fighting with my director for time, I'd like to know quite specifically. I am not, a warrior in that capacity, but I'm also a warrior in my own capacity. If I am with somebody like that, and what should I notice as a change, as a colleague, what should be my first response to the person, and what will even tell me, okay, this person is not just being lazy, the person has a battle and I need to work.
Well, I would say that, and this is one thing I'll be eternally grateful to NTA for, especially the people that I worked closely with. My boss at the time, Mr. Walekoka, Madam Bola Oyeyemi, and so on. If somebody who is genotype SS comes to you and tells you, I am not feeling well, regardless of how healthy and composed and whatever they look in that moment, take it seriously. Because, like they said, the default setting is to try to appear as healthy and as strong as possible all the time. You don't want to be associated with, you try hard not to be associated with being frail and weak and this, that, and the other. So usually, even when you're feeling poorly, you drag yourself to the office. Now, it's when you begin to realize that, okay, coming to the office today was a mistake. I really should have just made a phone call and told them today isn't going to happen for me. I recall one particular Saturday. Back then I was handling Saturday morning. I was anchoring the program that day. I woke up. I'd taken my bath. I was perfectly fine through the night. I woke up. I was okay. I took my bath. I got dressed. I was just making up when this nasty pain shot through my spine. And if that pain had occurred in a limb or anywhere else, I'd have taken the chance and knocked the program off and then taken care of myself. But you see, once I feel that tingling sensation in my spine, I know it's bad news. I considered, will I be able to sit on TV and just power through? Just try, and with each passing moment, it intensified. It was like 8:45, I think. I picked up the phone, I called her, I said, I won't be able to make it. I'm sorry. She had to quickly, I'm sure she didn't even come to the office prepared that day to anchor the program. She was meant to direct. She had to anchor the program herself. But I wound up, having a bed for 3 nights in hospital.
All right.
Trying to manage the pain. So the thing is, if somebody comes and communicates to you that they're not feeling well, regardless of how they look, just take it seriously.
I quite agree with you, because a lot of times I'm actually down myself, and we use a lot of makeup to brighten up and make sure that people don't get to know, because it's not their business, but it's also their business. On a very party note, very short, you didn't give me the name of that book.
The name of the book is I Am a Survivor.
I Am a Survivor.
The story of my triumph over sickle cell pains.
Okay.
Yes.
And you say
it's going to be launched this Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
So I'm expecting that more money will come out and we'll use it to help the other people who are not. What's the title of your film? I want to go and watch it.
The Journey of the S.
The Journey of the
S.
S. S as in just one S?
The letter S.
The letter S.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Journey of the S. Let's quickly take 1 or 2 messages. We've been talking. We're unable to do that. Good morning, please. How do you cope that over 3 years you have not been in the hospital? How do you treat yourself then? Please tell us. Okay, I think you tried to answer that question. I asked it immediately.
Oh, yes.
And it says in a book because most people have died, do a lot of abbreviations, but I think basically say go to hospital. Please, rich Nigerians, it should help out as well. They say you guys are good companions and courageous. May God bless us all. Another person from the WhatsApp says, NTA, I like your program. Thank you very much. I can't take too much because of our time, but I would like us to leave with if it's just a sentence of encouragement to everybody who is watching us here. There are mothers who have this issue battling. Just a sentence.
Well, I would like to say to the whole society that sickle cell diseases or sickle cell disorder is not a death sentence. So that's the
okay. Afis.
I would say to every warrior, every fighter regardless of what you're battling. Keep fighting, keep living, and keep hoping.
Okay, and you must rest. It's not until you die. Rest. Okay, so
And I particularly want to talk to our spouses, our partners, caregivers. Don't get tired. We love you very much and we appreciate your effort and your sacrifices.
Thank you very much. And Conversation loves you awesomely so too. So see you again next week and continue to be strong.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of
Christ.
Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yes. Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Sneakers is a synonym for athletic shoes, the generic name for footwear primarily designed for physical exercise. It is usually designed with flexible sole made of rubber and an upper part of leather or canvas. Sneakers go back a long way. In the late 18th century, People wore rubber-soled shoes called plimsolls, but they were pretty crude. For one thing, there was no right foot or left foot. Around 1892, the US Rubber Company came up with more comfortable rubber sneakers with canvas tops called Keds. By 1917, the sneakers began to be mass-produced. They got the nickname sneakers because they were so quiet. A person wearing them could sneak up on someone without being noticed. Sneakers, though designed for sports, have gradually crept into everyday fashion due to its easy fit and comfort. It comes in diverse colors, designs, and models. The high tops, covering the ankle only. The low tops, or Oxford, stay just below the ankle. The mid-cut sneakers are in between the high and the low tops. The sneaker boots extend to the calf. The slip-ons, much like the low tops, do not cover the ankle and do not have laces. The low top CVO, that is Circular Vamp Oxford, do not cover the ankle, but have a vamp in a circular form with about 4 to 5 eyelets. Finally, the high top CVO covers the ankle with a circular vamp. Sneakers can be worn with a good pair of jeans, a skirt, a suit, and sometimes to give a good kick to a simple gown. It can be worn to the office, casually, or even to a serious occasion. The last Mama Award in South Africa, some stars, including Lynx, were spotted in lovely, classy sneakers.
I'm wearing a black suit and chucks. No designer.
Besides the fashion statement, sneakers are well recommended for their orthopedic benefit to the knees and ankle. Go ahead, fit the feet in style with just the matching sneakers.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another
Just had the rare privilege of taking my first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and I can tell you that we are doing very well in terms of our response and
Welcome to News Update on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. The Buhari Media Organization, BMO, has questioned the methodology adopted by Amnesty International in arriving at its conclusion that Nigeria's security forces committed crimes under international laws while restoring peace in the southeast region. BMO, in a statement, says the allegations of excessive force and repression were part of an ongoing campaign of calumny against the Nigerian Authority. Now, the Nigeria Air Force says its air component has destroyed a bandit camp in an air offensive action against bandits in northwest Nigeria. This was achieved during a 3-day intensive military operation which focused on locations with high concentration of bandits in Zamfara State, northwest Nigeria. In another development, 56 terrorists and their families have surrendered to troops of Operation Hadinkai in the northeast. A statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, says over 100 Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists and their families had earlier laid down their arms due to the intensity of joint military operations in the zone. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Jimmy Priest Silva, says the 3% whose communities fund in the PIB, which will be deducted from the operational cost and not from the profit, is in the best interest of the Niger Delta region. The minister gave the advice when a 33-member delegation of Niger Delta elders and stakeholders paid him a solidarity visit in Abuja. Chief Silva says he is even more worried about the utilization of the fund peacefully without conflict, considering past experiences. World Health Organization has donated ventilators and fingertip oxygen pools for the management of patients in isolation and treatment facilities in Nigeria. WHO country representative in Nigeria, Walter Kazadi Mulumbo, presented the items to the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, in Abuja. Dr. Walter said the gesture is aimed at helping Nigeria have a strong response system in the country. Still on health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC has announced 566 new cases of COVID in Nigeria within the last 24 hours. With this development, Nigeria now has 176,577 total confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 165,323 patients were treated and discharged, while the death toll stands at 2,178. Now, those are the stories trending at this time on NTA International. Thanks for being a part of it.
Defection season rumbles on as parties get set for the push for the 2023 general elections. The People's Democratic Party in crisis talks to batten down the hatches as gale of cross-carpeting and resignations continue. The All Progressives Congress lauds judgment defining the legality of its caretaker and extraordinary convention planning committee. As the political parties gear up for the off-cycle elections and then the general elections, what should be done to strengthen the electoral bodies and better sanitize the processes? We'll have a discussion on that on the program. I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano State says Nigeria cannot afford another civil war. He made his comments at a public lecture in Abuja.
Sustaining Nigeria's unity and galvanizing efforts to inculcate values for national development dominated discussions at this forum, where it was agreed that Nigeria had experienced moments that truly define it as a symbol of unity in the continent. Speaking on the topic, sustaining a united and indivisible Nigeria, a myth or reality, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje said, there is hope for sustaining the unity of Nigeria, as there is no challenge the political class cannot address, as Nigeria is matured enough to correct its mistakes as part of the development processes.
All right-thinking citizens, irrespective of their tribal and religious inclinations, should bond together to sustain the corporate existence of the most populous and naturally endowed nation in Africa, that is Nigeria. We must shun temptations and anger capable of leading us into more turbulent time.
So any reasonable person who witnessed the Nigerian Biafra war will never preach anything near to war. You won't wish your enemy to go through that. So for those who were not born then, who take delight in pronouncing war, war, war. It's not African magic. The thing you stay back and watch.
So there must be this kind of law. Because let me tell you, all the governors are friends. All the ministers are friends. You need to see us drink coffee in Hilton. You know that there's no divisional number.
Discussants were unanimous that advocates of secession should have a change of heart and embrace dialogue as a crucial option for addressing their problems, and called for a collective zeal in the project of diversifying the economy, managing out of school children, and rebuilding the tertiary institutions to boost knowledge development for 21st century challenges. Chairman APC Press Corps, Jide Oretunsin, said the second quarterly public lecture is aimed at adding value to the debate of national unity.
Now, the All Progressives Congress Governors Forum has commended the Supreme Court for the judgment which, amongst others, has provided clarity on the legality of the APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, its composition and all its decisions.
The APC governors, in a statement by its chairman and governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, said the judgment has also settled the legality of the Governor Maimala Buni-led National Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. The governors congratulated all Nigerians, in particular APC members and supporters across the country, especially President Muhammadu Buhari, whose zeal is to bequeath a democratic party built bottom-up for the benefit of Nigerians. Similarly, the All Progressives Congress has reminded its members who have sued the party to withdraw their cases and use the mechanism of reconciliation to address their grievances. Professor Tahiru Mamma, a member of the party's Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, gave the reminder at a media briefing where he reaffirmed the legality of the APC Caretaker Committee as a result of the Supreme Court's judgment.
The Nigerian Supreme Court, in its judgment, affirmed the legality of the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. This court stated that the NEC, National Executive Committee of the APC, under Article 13.3.4 of the APC Constitution, has power to create, elect, and appoint a committee and endow it with powers and functions. It even went ahead to draw a parallel with Article 3.3 sub 3 of PDP Constitution 2012, which gave similar powers to its national convention, which in turn appointed a national caretaker committee in 2016, which the Supreme Court ruled to be legal. This case is Sheriff versus PDP.
He advised party faithful to focus on all upcoming congresses, ensure unity and harmony in the party.
This week, a member of the PDP Board of Trustees, Senator Joy Emodi, defected to the ruling All Progressives Congress. Emodi's defection increases the number of top party stalwarts of the People's Democratic Party to change logos and allegiances in the past few months.
The chairman APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee and Yobe State Governor Maimala Buni received the decampees in Abuja. The former lawmaker, Joy Emodi, said she's convinced that the future of a prosperous and united Nigeria lies in the APC, and described the party's leadership as sincere and genuinely committed to a united Nigeria that has plans for the future generation. The former legislator assured the party of her loyalty and her support to the party in view of the APC-led federal government that is working for the Southeast, the zone she represents. The chairman APC Caretaker Committee, Maimala Buni, expressed delight with the decision taken by the PDP board member to contribute to the unity of the country through the APC, and described the Southeast as a strong political bloc and very crucial to the unity of the country. Similarly, the former PDP Zonal Secretary and former member PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Oke Ezenwa, said he has joined the APC because of his love for a future for the country. The Dikampis commended the Buni-led caretaker committee for making the party attractive and opening up for others with genuine interest on national unity to join the APC.
Activities in the different political parties are beginning to gather momentum as the first off-cycle elections, which will herald the dawning of the 2023 general elections, draw closer. Now, stakeholders in the political space, keen watchers of the nation's democracy, and the umpire all seem to agree that there must be a general resolve by the players not to weaken or sabotage the nation's electoral processes. Member House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Sam Onuigbo, joins us today. Now, Honorable Onuigbo represents Sekwano, Umuahia North and Umuahia South Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. He served also in the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Electoral Reforms. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start like this. You know, when you got the brief to recommend laws to strengthen our electoral processes, which were the areas of priority?
Well, thank you very much, Fisayo, and good afternoon, viewers. The basic thing about electoral laws is to ensure that you have an institution that administers or conducts the election in a fair, credible, and transparent manner. That's the basic thing. So when we are asked to look at it and look at those critical areas to effect amendments, the focal thing you work on, what were the challenges that came out of previous elections that needed to be addressed? And some of them were perhaps the courts had attempted to address them. So they were not one, there were several areas. But the aim is get an institution like INEC that is constitutionally backed. It's not just a creation of the Act of the National Assembly. You know, if you go to Section 153, you see that it's clearly provided for. That get the INEC to really be strengthened. Because one thing is clear, a critical institution like INEC is what guarantees or crumbles a democratic process. Because it is an institution where people go in line with those provisions that early thinkers like James Harrington, Jeremy Bentham developed. That look, you must go to renew your mandate. You must go for the people to say, we have voted for you. So without that, without having such an institution conducting a fair and credible, transparent election, then you are probably asking for a situation where people go either through the gun or by the force of their muzzle. So that's why it's a very critical institution. So the review was intended to ensure that we have an institution that is strengthened to be able to conduct elections that the people can look up to and say, oh yes, we voted for this man. We put him in office, and therefore he's accountable to us.
We saw the push and pull that eventually came out as even in the issue of electronic transmission and all that. But in another less than 2 years, we would go for general elections. Before then, there'll be some off-cycle elections, one later in the year in Anambra, and of course, Osun and Ekiti also warming up in 2022. With where we are now, in terms of the mindset of the political elite, the players themselves, and the umpire, are we ready for the next set of elections?
Well, I'll say we are ready, but we still need to do a lot more work. Like I said, it's important for those that you have been elevated to govern or to lead, for them to have confidence, trust in you that truly we use the power of our tongue to elect Fisayo. But a situation where they begin to...
And I will not disappoint.
And then you will not disappoint. And a situation where they begin to think, oh, well, we did not vote for him. He rigged himself in. You discover that the trust and the power of your office quickly begins to erode. That's what we have to, really take care of. And it's very important. Because if these early thinkers, way back, 16-something, 17-something, you're talking about Jeremy Bentham, and, so if you talk about James Harrington, who wrote his, the Commonwealth of Oceania in 1556, talking about that you have to go and renew your mandate. That there should be terms of office, there should be checks and balances. And one of the ways of doing this is that if you were elected and you're not doing well, people have the power to say, let's do a recall. This we are thought about donkey years ago, even though, people like Montesquieu developed them and people are talking about them generally. So these things are very, very important, and they are really the roots, the institution, the taproot of a democratic process. For instance, if it's predicted, oh no, he has bought INEC, he was going to emerge, and eventually you emerge. Those who truly know that, oh look, this guy did not earn the position he's occupying, they will not have confidence in you. And the perhaps begin to think of other ways through which to remove you from office.
That's the issue of legitimacy now. But let's move on a little.
Yes.
In terms of the mindset, we've seen cross-carpeting. You yourself, you had to change, your position in terms of, yes. Does this will this in any way affect our mindset? Even the followers, when you see a lot of cross-carpeting and all that, in terms of our mindset going to the elections, is it about elections alone, or are we strengthening, our democratic practices generally?
Well, your question is a solid one, and I would like to make some clarifications. The issue of leadership is a resolve by the individual to use the power of office that we've been given to bring about the well-being of the immediate people who voted for you, and even so many others, hundreds of thousands or even millions. If you are not exercising leadership along that line, then you have something else that you have come to do. For me, it's not a question of moving from one party to the other. Maybe some people moved because of maybe was something they want to do. Everyone has a reason for moving. But one thing I would like to stress this afternoon is that the party administrators and a few stakeholders, they have a responsibility to make this system to endure, to grow. A situation where a party administrator looks at your face and says, Fisayo, I think you have had enough. Even when you are serving the people well, even when the people are happy with you, and he begins to either block you with a few stakeholders, you discover that those who have a lot to offer, and those that the electorate truly crave to come and represent them, they would encourage the individual to look for an alternative platform to be able to serve them. That's one of the reasons why some people move. I'm not holding brief for others. I'm speaking for myself. Because it's a situation where you know that people have seen what you are doing. If you administrators, they gang up and they say, oh no, you have a duty to move to a platform that can offer you the opportunity to be able to serve your people, especially if it's been verified, even if it's been ascertained that you are there for the good of your people and not for your personal aggrandizement. And that is the key aspect of whether you are in leadership for the people or you are in leadership
and talking about
to please
movement, we have to move on the show. We mentioned a defection from the PDP in the first part of the program. It has not been plain sailing for the Prince Uche Secondos-led National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party following the resignation of 7 national officers of the party this week.
7 deputy national officers made up of Diron Odeyemi, Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Ahmed Bello, Deputy National Legal Advisor, Umaru Hadizat, Deputy National Women Leader, Divine Amina Arong, Deputy National Auditor, Hassan Yakubu, Deputy National Organizing Secretary, and Irona Alfonsos, Deputy National Financial Secretary, resigned their positions, citing what they described as bad treatment exhibited by the PDP National Chairman, Prince Uche Secondos, since the election that brought the current leadership of the party to power in 2017. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Kola Olobodion, reacting to the development, says a committee is already revived to address the issues.
The conflict resolution mechanism of our party has already been activated. So let us wait for the outcome of these resolutions.
The media assistant to the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondos, Ike Abonyi, also reacts.
I want to correct something. Those who resign are not members of NWC. They are members of NEC, but not members of NWC. The structure of the party is intact. and Prince Secondus is national chairman. And anybody who resigns will be filled the next day.
The national youth leader of the PDP, Ude Okoye, however, shares a contrary view.
Mr. Uche Secondus, the national chairman of the party, is incompetent of managing the affairs of this party. He lacks managerial capacity to manage PDP.
After that development, a meeting of the People's Democratic Party Board of Trustees and the National Working Committee was held in Abuja to resolve the internal crisis rocking the party. The meeting, which took place at the party's National Secretariat, oversaw the setting up of a special committee to tackle all areas of the dispute.
If Secondus does not resign, I am going to leave the party.
Where does Secondus not want to sacrifice for the party like all the previous chairmen that have done the same thing?
The calls for the resignation of the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondus, informed this meeting of the party's Board of Trustees and National Working Committee, which also had the presence of the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. The resignation of 7 elected members of the National Executive Committee, citing lack of inclusion by the Prince Uche Secondus-led National Working Committee, is the major agenda of the meeting. Findings, according to the chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Senator Wali Jibril, show that no national chairman of the party since inception has completed their tenure of office. With 3 months to the end of the Prince Uche Secondus-led NWC, the BOT chairman and Uche Secondus are of the view that any crisis at this point in time, when plans for a peaceful national convention are already heightened, will be counterproductive.
Anyone that takes the party to court should be seriously disciplined. The issues must be tabled and discussed and come out with solutions.
We resolved in the meeting to set up a committee that will look at the situation.
We'll resolve the way forward.
Meanwhile, the Concerned Elders Forum of the PDP, with most of its members in the BOT, is urging all party organs, officers and members to remain calm, faithful and orderly as it proceeds with urgent consultations and initiatives to resolve the contending issues.
All right, we'll get the the report from that committee as we watch the space on developments there in the PDP. But moving on now, Honorable Samunibu is still with us. This week we heard from the Honorable Minister of Environment that President Muhammadu Buhari and Nigeria will assume the presidency of the heads of state and governments of the Pan-African Agency of the Green Wall later this year. You are the president, of the Global Legislators, Organization for Balanced Environment and Chairman Climate Parliament Nigeria. Do you think this will bring renewed impetus to this fight against climate change now that Nigeria will be chairing the Green Wall Initiative?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate Mr. President and then the Minister of Environment for getting this highly elevated position. It's going to help, a great deal because the fight that Africa as a whole is putting against climate change through the Great Green Wall is intended to address some of the challenges that are largely, the Sahelian challenges, all these countries, Burkina Faso, Mauritania, Niger, Chad, Nigeria, and all that. The degradation of the environment, the land that is available for farmers to use, the racing down of desertification and all that. So this Pan-African body on Great Green Wall is intended to address this thing. So of course it has a lot of advantages because even for Nigeria here alone, we are planning, on reaping from this. This has the potential to create well over 10 million jobs. And not only are we talking about planting, according to Mr. President in his last address at the UN, he talked about planting over 25 million trees. These are not just ordinary trees, just to create a carbon sink like the Amazonian area in Brazil. But this is just to plant trees that also have economic benefit and to reclaim land that have been degraded so that farmers can go back to farm, increase food security, and of course reduce what is coming from the other side of security. You know, when you talk about Boko Haram, all these other people that have been pushing down from these areas that I've mentioned. Some of them are pushing down not just because they enjoy it, but they are pushing down because they cannot find things with which to, you know, earn their means of life.
Very quickly,
this is a positive.
You have been pursuing a bill. It's been passed in the House of Representatives. Where is it now? What's the status of that bill?
Oh, the climate change bill has passed the House of Representatives and is now in the Senate. Unfortunately, the Senate has also given it has gone through the first reading in the Senate. So we are hopeful that as soon as we resume from the recess, that it will be passed by the Senate and then transmitted from the National Assembly to Mr. President for his assent.
Let's go local to the people of Ikwano, Umaya North and Umaya South, very briefly before we let you go. You promised us the Secretariat. Have we gotten that now? The Federal Secretariat that we're expecting, that you're trying to influence to get to your area, very quickly.
Oh yeah, the Federal Secretariat is ongoing, but I'm still wondering. I don't know why, you know, it's still up to the state government to provide, you know, the survey plan and the certificate of occupancy. A portion of land, 7 hectares, have been provided, but it's taking a pretty long time. I've even written a letter to the governor to ensure that this is facilitated, this is fast-tracked, to ensure that we're able to get it into the budget for 2022. It's something we need. Abia will be 30 years this month, and we need a federal secretary badly.
All right, thank you very much. For the past hour, we've had Honorable Samuel Nuigbo from Ikwano, Umaya North, Umaya South Federal Constituency, a buff of climate change, and of course also the chairman of Climate Change Parliament in Nigeria. That has been the size of political update for this week. We'll keep an eye on the windows of APC and PDP and other parties as they gear up for the 2023 elections and of course the off-cycle elections. My name is Fisal Ogunfi, thanking you for being a part of this and urging you to continue watching the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's finest and largest, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Don't forget to play your politics for the greater good. Bye-bye now.
This is the network service of the NTA.
When music meets dance, love meets poetry, and stories meet drama. Your joy, laughter, smiles and giggles will be all that matter. Let's gather here. Showbuzz